So long, man. Have a good rest.
Fuck you! Help me! Taking maybe one step more. Send it off to my
It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
What is going on, everybody? It is Sunday night, September 7th, 2025. Welcome to the Sit Down. I am Don Tony. Hope everyone has had a wonderful week. This week freaking flew by, just like this. Love is in the air. This Thursday was my 3-year wedding anniversary. And a few people brought to my attention Friday that MJF and Alicia Tout got married. And, it's interesting how things happen in the same month. If you checked out the history show on Saturday, we were talking about how CM Punk, his debut in AEW, the first all-out fight with the Elite happened in August, September, and the fight with Jack Perry happened in August and September. And so that period is not very good for CM. It's good and it's bad. It's bittersweet because he started AEW and he left at AEW. Same thing for Cross. When Cross originally signed with WWE, then he was let go and then he came back in the same month, and then he was let go same month. And it was kind of funny because I started working on the next episode of the history show, and I go through all my old notes. I have everything saved. I don't delete nothing. Figured maybe need it again one day. And it was 3 years ago. 3 years ago this week that MJF proposed, "Will you marry me?" "Yes, I will, Maxwell." "Oh, that's wonderful." To a different woman. So, love is in the air for MJF. Get engaged, get married. So, hey, he married Alicia Tout. They have been a couple for quite some time. And congrats to the happy couple. So, by the way, props to Pro Wrestling Tees. I ordered this because, remember, last Friday, I don't know why they did this. Last Friday, you could only order this shirt within 1 hour. It was only going to be available for 1 hour. I could see if you do that for like $10 off for 1 hour only. Buy a shirt, get $10 off. Why would you make this release only for 1 hour? So I ordered one. I got it in 3 days, even with Labor Day's holiday. Got it in 3 days. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So what they probably did was they printed them up as the orders were coming in and banging them out and throwing them in the freaking mail at the same time. So props. Very, very, very much appreciated the Pro Wrestling Tees. So it's official. It's official. Big news this week in the world of pro wrestling. Everybody's talking about it. Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore off the SmackDown commentating team. Is Corey Graves now going to do triple duty? Quadruple duty? Is he going to do Raw, NXT, and SmackDown and premium live events? What's going to happen to Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett? Well, as you see the little clip, time off, that is the claim by Wade Barrett. Have a little bit more to share with you momentarily. Obviously, that is not the major news that has transpired in the last few days. It was pretty much a guarantee, but we had to leave the question mark from Wednesday, and it was made official. on Friday SmackDown, AJ Lee makes her return to the WWE. Do you know today was 15-year anniversary that she showed up in NXT? It's almost 15 years. Hey, there's another one. You start WWE and you're back same month. It's interesting how things seem to happen in particular months. So let's talk a little bit about AJ Lee first. Now listen, she was involved with Women of Wrestling. She's been around wrestling very recently. The only difference is that we didn't see the abs, and we didn't see her in the ring doing what she could do. And she looked great. Time has definitely treated her well. She hasn't been out that long. You know, you don't, if you notice, when you're in your 30s to 40s, you don't age very much. You know, it's funny because people say to me, Jesus Christ, DT, I look at you from 10 years ago and you look pretty much the same. I don't feel the same, but, you know, when you're in your teens to your 20s, well, actually, if you're in your single digits to your teens, it's still growing. But when you go into your teens to your 20s, there's obviously a dramatic change because you're growing. When you get to your 20s into your 30s, you kind of like, you know, just gradually start shifting your looks a little bit. But for some reason, when you go into your 30s to about 40, you age kind of slowly. It's when you get your 40s into your 50s is when shit starts to go down. And when you get into your 50s and 60s, forget about it. Look at Ric Flair from 5 years ago now. You'd be kind of surprised on how much he has aged. Even Hulk, God rest his soul. You know, AJ Lee looks tremendous. You know, her book is Crazy is My Superpower. I would also rename the book that 40s are now the 30. 40 is now 30. Because, my God, everybody, you look at wrestling going back to the 80s, and you see some wrestlers out there that are in their 40s, and you think, okay, they're done. They're done. And you would kind of say to yourself, you know, back then, wrestling very, very hard, working 200-300 dates a year, traveling nonstop. I mean, literally living in your car in your suitcase. But as far as workload goes, you know, is it safe to say that the wrestlers today work a lot harder in the ring? You know, I mean, just the bumps that they take and the demand, like you cannot do a headlock for 2-3 minutes anymore. You know, yeah, you do some drop kicks here and there in the 80s, but it was a lot more of a ground game. Now it's rapido, nonstop. When was the last time? Here's one for you guys. Something to think about. When was the last time you heard a boring chant? I haven't heard one in years. Maybe in my bedroom, but I haven't heard one in years. Have you? I don't think so. That just shows you how wrestling has really changed. You got a lot more boring chants back in the day because wrestling was obviously transitioning from the old school to new school. And if you were majorly over, you could still get away with that stuff. But if you weren't over, fans would make you hear it. Right? Isn't that a great topic? You should put that on Twitter. I just thought about this. Don Tony just said this on his show. And I thought, when was the last time you heard a boring chant? In wrestling. So, listen, her back is tremendous. Will she stick around? Yeah, I think she does. I think the schedule that CM Punk has had since he's returned, yeah, he had injury, and he's had some amazing feuds with Drew McIntyre. Seth Rollins is still going. Old commercial. He's had some tremendous feuds. AJ Lee getting married to Becky Lynch for several months. Yeah, I could see that happening. I could definitely see that happening. And wasn't it funny? It was just 2 weeks ago that we were pondering, like, who's next for Becky Lynch? Can't be Lara Vicaria because of the stipulation. You can't have any of the other heels unless somebody's turning. Liv Morgan is still out of action. You know, I don't think people wanted to really see Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch start having a feud right now. You look at that Raw roster, there's not many choices. Natalya, every few years, every couple of years, they treat the feud as if they've never feuded before. And then you go back in history 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, like, they kind of did this already. And it's funny how they keep saying the same thing. 5 years ago, Natalya feels she doesn't get her respect. 5 years ago, Natalya told Becky Lynch, "You're a bully." Think I'm kidding? Go Google it. 5 years later, "Becky, you're a bully." I think AJ Lee being back is tremendous. Let's also keep it in perspective. I'm not trying to spoil the fun, but let's reel this in. You know, this isn't, I mean, her character, her persona, absence makes the heart grow fonder. That all kicks it in. But, let's also remind ourselves that AJ Lee, is a good women's wrestler. But in this day and age, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. You start looking back at the old AJ Lee matches, she was fine. I'm not criticizing her in-ring repertoire. But let's reel this in a little bit. Yeah, we miss her. Yeah, it's something you didn't think you would see again. I think that's the thing more than anything else. Absent makes the heart grow fonder. But at the same time, it feels real. That's why people are so into this right now. People can't accept the fact that CM Punk and Seth Rollins are cordial enough now that they do what's best for business. They don't try to sneak in an extra noogie because they don't like the other person. Do they hang out after the shows? No. Do they wish each other happy birthday? No. But they are able to work with each other, just like Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. 2-3 weeks ago, we played that interview with Drew McIntyre in the History Show when CM Punk came back to AEW. Well, came back to wrestling and signed with AEW. Drew McIntyre was asked about it. Drew McIntyre thought it was great for wrestling. You didn't hear anything like, cocksucker, stay clear away from the WWE. No, he thought it was great for wrestling. When it feels real, when you think the tension can reel you in through the TV, that's when wrestling is at some of its finest. And that's what is the big buzz right now. But let's, also remember AJ Lee is a women's wrestler with decent ability. You're not going to get 5-star matches out of her. You're not going to probably even get 4-star matches unless you really, tell some type of an insane story where even Dave Meltzer's going to be like, I can't give this less than 4 stars. She's good. I don't have any issues with her. But, the people that are just losing their shit. Let me tell you something. If you read AJ Lee's book, I didn't read her book. I just started reading Cross's book, and that's the first book that I'm reading cover to cover in 20 years. But one thing about AJ Mendez is her battles with mental health. And I know too many people who have read a book and followed her, that she is an amazing inspiration outside of wrestling. So when you have someone that is legitimately a good person, that has a lot of real issues that everyday folk like us can identify with, and you like the person and the person has good traits also, and you also get to see her appear in the sports and entertainment that you love, which is professional wrestling, it's a home run all across the board. So everybody out there that is really going over the top, there's numerous reasons why. You cannot look at this as just wrestling ability only. House shows, fans will love it. I'm sure there'll be some Gaga in house shows. And whether you like Seth Rollins or you don't, because I know there's enough of you haters, enough of you out there who hate Seth Rollins. Totally respect that. For those out there who think Becky Lynch, is kind of treated like Charlotte Flair, but nobody wants to say that publicly, old school Charlotte Flair. There's enough of you out there that don't like Becky Lynch. Some of you think Becky Lynch is the greatest of all time, and I can't disagree with that all that much. I respect that. But you have to admit, if you're going to have any four people, husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, man and woman, male and female, feuding, this is the perfect four to have. Because not only is that real life emotion put into this, but they are veterans, Hall of Famers down the line, really, really top at what they do. And that's what makes this even better. So it's going to hit home runs. It's going to be great. Just keep in mind that at some point it has to move on. And what happens for some people is that when AJ Lee is done with Becky Lynch, then you got to start figuring out, okay, how do you maintain that level that fans are just so into? And you can't. There'll be a time where people will feel like, wow, it just feels like AJ Lee is not, as special as it. No, it shouldn't. Right now it's that absence makes the heart grow fonder feeling. But after a while, she will blend in nicely, kind of like CM Punk. CM Punk put the AEW stuff aside. Now it just feels like he fits in. You look back at 10 plus years ago, it's kind of crazy to think that CM Punk would not only fit in this well, but be this much of a team player and have such a different outlook on wrestling, on life. I know people want to try to always bring in social issues to it, things that he supports, and that's fine. There's a lot of people who I appreciate that we have differences of views or, things we support and we don't support, and that's fine. That's what makes the world so wonderful. We can agree to disagree without ripping each other apart. So AJ Lee coming back, tremendous. The only sad thing about it is, other than somebody jumping from AEW to WWE, there's not many others that this could happen with. Unless you want Goldberg to come out of retirement. I mean, you really think about it, there's not many others. Brie Bella, yeah, it'd be nice to see her. Until you're reminded of what you can and can do, not do in the ring. So enjoy this moment, especially if you like nostalgia. And yeah, maybe saying AJ Lee and nostalgia is a little bit stretching it, because it hasn't been that long. Keep in mind, remember Christian? Remember when he came back? Royal Rumble? Edge came back to the WWE? They were gone for many years also. And not only was that nostalgia feeling coming back, but then you realize, holy shit, they could still go. And go at a high level. Now, obviously, Adam Copeland, years later, his body is starting to break down. Christian Cage, if you really want to, be honest, how many matches you think he's had in AEW since he's been back? He is really, really stretched out. He couldn't have that schedule in the WWE. They go to fucking Australia. They go to Paris. They go to Puerto Rico. They go to fucking France. They go here. They go there. They go here. Christian would probably be very much wanted. So I'm happy. I'm happy that AJ Lee is back. I'm happy that the vibe of WWE post Vince McMahon is more positive. And listen, I'm not trying to be an asshole by saying this, but the lawyers for Janelle Grant, WrestleNomics, and a bunch of others will try to convince you that this WWE is still run by Vince McMahon. You know, they'll use WWE as a noun, as a person. Oh, look, the WWE has not changed their culture. Well, who in the WWE are you talking about? That's why whenever I hear somebody say something or write something, I always say to myself, who are you talking about in WWE? Have the balls and call them out by name. You won't do that because you're petrified of being sued. So you treat WWE as if it's a human being. That's the new pronoun. You got he, she, they, them, it, the other, all of the above. WWE is a pronoun because you use it as if it's a human being. And that's why, honestly, you know, when you see people out there that get uber emotional, you know, especially against Vince McMahon and the ways WWE ran, they refuse to let it go. They don't want to let it go. So when you see CM Punk coming back and it's like, hey, this place is fun to work for. And you see AJ Lee comes back, hey, this, you know, it's time. And you see others, you know, say what you want about Nikki Bella, seeing her back. You know, seeing others being able to come back. Door is open. You know, there's not many people on this earth. Believe it or not, I think down the line, Triple H would even take back Ronda Rousey. Even though Ronda Rousey comes off like a human period, let's be honest. I'm sorry to be disgusting like that. But the only reason why I say that is because every woman that I have ever known in my entire lifetime, when they get their period, they're the nastiest, angriest, most vicious bitches imaginable. You could give them a dozen roses. You could tell them how beautiful they look. You could give them breakfast in bed. You could, you know, just buy them a whole bunch of gifts and they'll tell you, fuck off. That's pretty much what Ronda Rousey is right now. I mean, if you see some of the interviews that she's doing, you know, but I do believe, you know, there's only, put it this way, her garden is not big enough that she could raise enough plants that she could start an online store and sell all the meat that she gets from her own animals and the farmland that she produces. After a while, the money's going to start running out. And she's going to have to come back to do something. You know, I'm nothing against her husband, but really, like, what are they doing? You know, you look at others like Lacey Evans and others that were not very popular, but she opened the restaurant. She did this, she did that, she did this. You know, you look at the Bellas. The Bellas opened a wine thing. They opened this. They try to. I mean, what is Ronda Rousey doing? The fact that the lapsed fan, with no insults intended, you know, could, you know, land these interviews with her and, you know, say all these things. You know, obviously, you know, the stock has gone down a little bit. So that's why I said earlier this week, you know, we pretty much realize now why Logan Paul should be in wrestling and Ronda Rousey should not. You know, the stuff that she said about Alexa Bliss and about this, you know, about that, you know, this is a woman that, you know, thinks that her, and listen, it's not a Bret Hart thing. You know, Bret Hart forgot that we're in a business, we're in entertainment. Bret screwed Bret, remember all that shit? It's not the same because Ronda Rousey is a legit badass. And I'm not saying that Bret Hart wasn't. I'm sure Bret learned some tricks from Stu. If you turn it this way, he'll be drinking out of a straw for the rest of his life. You know, I'm sure Bret Hart would know how to really fuck somebody up if he wanted to. But the thing is that Ronda Rousey's like the type of person, hey, we want you to star in a horror film, you know, but you're going to get killed. Do I at least go out with a fight? Do I at least put an armbar on? Do I at least kick the killer in the face a couple of times? Do I at least beat the shit out of him? No, you're just going to turn around and your throat's going to get slit. No. No way. Yeah. All right. Wade Barrett, I've got some bad news. Yeah. This is not clickbait, my friends. Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore were removed from the SmackDown commentating team. Now, you know, I put Nikki Bella on the front. I put Pat McAfee on the front. We put Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett on dumpsters, and we also put the quote, time off. All right? So before we get into your questions, before we get into whatever is on your mind, what you want to talk about tonight, let me just give you a quick rundown of what's going on with Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore. All right. Some of it, I totally understand. Some of it's got me scratching my head. And by the way, don't say I never ever bought any AEW merchandise. You know, I just couldn't find any other hat to wear tonight. So, here's the deal. 1 year ago, Pat McAfee was on WWE commentating. Pat McAfee left WWE to go do college football. Joe Tessitore is involved in sports outside of wrestling. And early this year, it was known to WWE that around this time, Joe Tessitore would likely be taking time off. Okay, that's very, very important when we get to Wade Barrett. All right. So keep that in mind, that at this time, WWE knew that this could or would be an issue with Joe Tessitore. And trust me, after signing an ESPN $1.6 billion deal and Joe Tessitore involved with ESPN, WWE was not going to have an issue with it. So, last week, Wade Barrett had a little issue with Nikki Bella. Apparently, Wade Barrett, because he's a heel commentator, brings up a little bit about Nikki Bella, you know, kind of being like a veteran, if we're going to say it politely. And Nikki Bella also felt that Wade was ignoring her. Wasn't like, kind of felt like he was giving her the cold shoulder. What Wade Barrett and maybe some others in the WWE did not realize is that Nikki Bella is kind of a watered down of Rampage Jackson and Raja Jackson and everything else. You know, if her makeup, you know, if she breaks a nail, she's got to go on her podcast and talk about it. If anything seems a little off, she's got to go and tell the whole fucking world about it. You know, it's kind of like all the news media out there that didn't even attempt to reach Wade Barrett for comment. You know, oh, Wade Barrett was removed from the SmackDown commentating team. Big shakeup. Not one of those journalists emailed Wade Barrett. Wade, is this true? Do you want to comment about it? Remember what I said. Out of everything I ever talk about in the wrestling news world, you should always, this should be the first thing at the top of your list. Whenever Meltzer or anybody else makes a claim about something big that involves an individual, notice how it's always absent. We reached out to Wade Barrett for comment and received no reply. We reached out to whatever. Listen, I could talk about Trump right now and make an outrageous claim. And I could say to you guys, I reached out to President Trump for a comment and received no reply. A lot of people would be like, no shit, dickhead. He ain't going to You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some people, you know, you could write everything possible about Vince McMahon and email him every time. Email, Vince, would you like to comment? At least try. And you're not lying. We reached out to Chris Benoit and received no reply. We reached out to Vince McMahon and received no reply. We reached out to Wade Barrett and received no reply. At least attempt to do it. Why do they not attempt to do it? Two reasons. My motto since 1997, I don't want to be first, I want to be right. These people have to run and put this shit out there. They got to be the first to do it. That's why it was so hilarious with Post Wrestling and Dave Meltzer about Seth Rollins faking an injury. They waited until 5 days after it happened to say, oh, I was told about this 3 days before. Oh, really? Well, how come you didn't say anything? Well, I wasn't sure if it was going to happen. But you post everything fucking else. AEW. You know, like, these people run. And they got to throw this shit out there before everybody else. That's problem number one. They don't want to wait. Fucking, if you don't want to wait, email Wade Barrett. What's that meme with the cat? Like waiting? You know, just like, all right, Wade, I gave you 5 minutes, you know. You don't have to say, we reached out to Wade Barrett and after 5 minutes we received no reply. They don't need to know how long you waited. Just fucking send an email. Wait 10 minutes. You get no reply. Hey, I reached out to Wade and received no reply. If Wade comes back and says, hey, asshole, you posted it 10 minutes after the email. And you know what I would say? Well, maybe you should change your alerts on your phone to get email alerts when they come in. Why do they not do that? I know, listen, if I write that on Twitter, nobody gives a shit. I cleared up on Twitter Dave Meltzer's big flaw in his computation saying Netflix cues Raw's numbers. Nobody cared. You could clear up everything. Nobody cares. They just want to get the story out there. And the second reason why they don't reach out to the source is the number one reason. Because if they reach out to the person and the person says, now think about PW Insider with all due respect and Meltzer and everybody else that ran with this Wade Barrett thing. If they would have emailed Wade Barrett and Wade said, no, I just requested time off, everybody would respond, oh, thank you for the update, Wade. I appreciate it. But meanwhile, in the house, motherfucker, I can't fucking write what I wanted to write. Motherfucker, he fucked it up for me. That's the thing. That's the thing. They reported people dying before they died. You think out of respect, you DM the family, hey, I just heard so-and-so passed away. I just wanted to, out of respect to the family, you know, find out, is it true? You don't fucking run and write it anyway and have the family member say, not dead yet. They died not too long after, but still, these people are obsessed with having their name in history. And fuck them all. Fuck them all, seriously. So, Wade Barrett, two things. Some people think that he was removed because of the comment towards Nikki Bella. That's not the case whatsoever. Plus, Wade Barrett did speak to Nikki Bella and cleared everything up. And Wade Barrett even went on social media and was like, you know, I wish, you know, this could have been handled like privately, because all, you know, technically what Wade was saying is, Nikki, why didn't you fucking email me, DM me, call me up, you know, come up to me. You go on a podcast, you make me look like a total asshole. You know, that's not true. You read the room wrong, Nikki. Just like with Artem and John and everybody else, you read the room wrong. You know, just reach out to me. I'm a human being. You know, I'm not just one of your followers or subscribers. I'm a coworker. And they cleared it up. WWE is not this snowflake where you're fired. How dare you say that about Nikki? You're fired. You're demoted. You're going to be designated to LFG. In fact, you're designated to Knox Pro Wrestling. That's not the case. But after all this came out, Wade Barrett says he requested this time off back in February. Interesting. That's right around the same time that Joe Tessitore was, you know, talking about how he was going to be doing sports later in the year, college football and all this other stuff. So this makes me a little confused. Okay. Wade Barrett wants to take some personal time off. Early in the year, Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore is going to be commentating team. WWE knows that Joe Tessitore is going to have to take some time off. Hey, Wade, Joe's going to be taking some time off in September. Do you want to take your time off in September? This way you're both perfect. But why would you arrange it that two commentators go off at the same time? Why would you make Michael Cole do double duty and Corey Graves arguably do triple duty? I mean, they may want to do it, but the idea is that to take both off at the same time is kind of puzzling. It's kind of puzzling. And, you know, the thing is that people are still saying it's a commentating shakeup. Well, if Joe Tessitore returns after college football, or he returns, you know, in time for Saturday night's main event, or whatever it is, and then Wade Barrett returns after a couple of weeks, then what's the shakeup? But here's the issue too. Look at the thumbnail. Look at the thumbnail. Pat McAfee's coming back. We don't even know exactly which week. That motherfucker's coming back. WWE doing his ESPN deal, doing Wrestlepalooza, everything that's going on, he's coming back. You know, everybody always quotes Pat McAfee when he does his podcast and talks about WWE. Yet the one thing that he has not answered to anyone is if his contract expired with WWE. You know, he's getting paid an insane amount of money. Regardless of the deal that WWE did with Netflix, WWE did with ESPN, you know, and WWE did with UFC, Endeavor, now TKO Group Holdings, you're paying Pat McAfee that kind of money. And then Pat McAfee, mental health, burned out. Me no do it. Burned out, need time off. You think TKO Group Holdings, like, take as much time as you need. You think they really would do that? You think they're going to add time to his you ever take notice that no one ever talks about the contractual stuff? Here's the facts. August of a couple of years, I don't remember exactly what year it was, but it was August that Pat McAfee signed the deal with WWE. It's kind of interesting that he left early, right at the time that his original contract started. So did his contract expire? I'm not saying that it did, but take note that no one ever brings that up. They can't Google. I'm surprised people haven't Googled it from a couple of years ago. It's pretty obvious now that Bully Ray is now Googling a little bit of AEW's history and finding little gems. It was freaking hilarious when we did the history show 2 weeks ago. And we were talking about, you know, Tony Khan in an interview. You guys that checked the history show, you heard it. We found an interview from 4 years ago where Tony Khan was praising Eric Bischoff and saying that Eric Bischoff, you know, did spectacular job with WCW. Even said that Vince McMahon he used Vince McMahon's template, how he built his empire in the 80s as an inspiration to create AEW. Did somebody spike Tony's chocolate milk 4 years ago? 5 years ago, whatever it was. I think it was 4 years ago. But the most amazing thing about it was in that interview, Tony Khan said that Eric Bischoff's biggest fault was that Eric Bischoff spent too much time bashing WWE. Eric took his mind off of WCW, was more obsessed with trying to knock WWE, not out of business, so to speak, but just ripping WWE, criticizing them and always trolling them. And he said that was Eric Bischoff's biggest mistake. And we did the history show and played it for everyone and said, Tony Khan is pretty much repeating what Eric Bischoff did. Suddenly out of nowhere, literally on the day, the anniversary of that interview, you know, Bully Ray goes on his part, you know, Tony Khan is repeating what Eric Bischoff used to do in WCW. It's kind of funny how he didn't say it a month ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, the night that Tony Khan tweeted about, Undertaker and John Cena making history, drawing under $1 million. No, it says it on the anniversary. So, again, people, just look at history. But, you look at Pat McAfee, and you could just do a simple history check and see, his contract started here. I don't think he signed for two years and 11 months, or maybe 3 years and 7 months, or 2 years, 9 months and 6 days. It's probably an annual contract. And literally a week or two before Pat McAfee's deal could have expired, me burnt out. Me need to do just podcasts and ESPN. Me no do wrestling. No, me not feel well. So the bottom line is this. What are you going to do with Pat McAfee when he returns? What are you going to do? Premium live events only? Maybe. That's a possibility. But you look at Raw, you look at SmackDown, you look at SmackDown's future. What is SmackDown's future? What is Raw's future? Raw is Netflix, obviously, but SmackDown, is there a dire need where you have to put your A team as the commentating team for SmackDown? People forget that Raw originally was Joe Tessitore. I don't remember who else. Might have been Corey Graves. It might have even been Joe Tessitore, Wade Barrett for all I remember. I don't remember exactly who. But the thing was, SmackDown seemed like the A team. And then when Raw started with Netflix, here comes Pat McAfee. Right for Netflix. Michael Cole, Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee's the one that reinvigorated Michael Cole. Gave him that special feeling down below. It gave him the energy, that uplift, that he needed. Indirectly, Michael Cole made Corey Graves feel like shit. Sorry, Michael. I'm not Pat, and I'm not going to sit there and go, holy hell. What are you going to do when Pat McAfee returns? And then you start thinking about SmackDown's future. And you start thinking about premium live events. Somebody's going to have to be moved. Does Wade Barrett ultimately go back to NXT? And does Corey Graves stay only on Raw? Or maybe SmackDown? Somebody's going to have to shift. And I wonder, you're not going to pay that kind of money for Joe Tessitore just to do Saturday night's main events. So what do you do with Joe Tessitore? So even when these guys are ready to return, when Pat McAfee says, me good, me back. I don't know why I treat Pat McAfee like a caveman, but when Pat McAfee returns, it's kind of like that scene in The Godfather. Remember The Godfather, where Robert De Niro was working in the fucking grocery store and Dom Fanucci walks in and tells the boss on the side, hey, my nephew needs a job. I can't afford to pay both. I got Robert De Niro working for me. Young, vibrant Robert De Niro without the political bullshit. Doesn't matter. You got to hire my nephew. Hey, Robert, you got to let you go. Unfortunately, there was no NXT down the block. Hey, maybe you could push the fruit cart down the block. So somebody is not going to be thrilled. But because what are the only options? Impact Wrestling with Mouthfuck Tom? Or AEW? Bryan Danielson back in commentating. And Bryan Danielson has done AEW commentating before. Now he's a permanent fixture. For now, that's nice. I'm not criticizing it at all. I just say a big fuck you to everyone out there. If Chris Jericho leaves and Bryan Danielson replaces him in the positions we talked about, all of you that criticized me 2-3 weeks ago are going to be eating your hats. You're going to be eating this hat. You're going to be eating this hat. So, I think that's enough of my rambling for today. So, do I believe Wade Barrett that it's only time off? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But what happens when he returns? What happens when Joe Tessitore returns? Are you going to have Wade Barrett and Pat McAfee temporarily? And they'll just Joe Tessitore returns with that smile and bang. Oh, you're going to go to LG. What's LG? Yeah. I like Joe Tessitore. I like him a lot. He really fits in so nicely with wrestling. I love his voice. I love his cadence. I love his passion. I love his energy. And I love his authenticity. You could feel that through the screen. So, who do we used to do that with? We used to do that with Chris Van Vliet. Before I realized that Chris Van Vliet was a legend, and I got to like kiss his ass a little bit. Remember the early days of Chris Van Vliet? Everything was smiling. And he would smile, and sometimes he all you saw was teeth. What's it like to you in WWE? What do you like this? What's your favorite wrestler? Who did you like to feud with? What's your favorite food? What's it like this? All right. Let's get into your questions. Obviously, our super shout-outs go to the front of the line. It's only fair. By the way, much love to Guardian of Chaos and Austin Nance holding down the ship for tonight. Shout out to our channel members on YouTube. Much love to you. Shout out to our Patreon family. Much love to you. Shout out to everyone who just follows what we do. Much appreciated. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And, still trying to, put quality out there. Just trying to keep it real, always keeping it real, and never, ever waver from the DTKC spirit. We miss Kev, and, he's with us in spirit, man. He's with us in spirit. Chainsaw Charlie. Thank you for your generosity, my friend. Please tell me I'm not alone in saying that WWE's a totally failed Julia on the main roster. Oh, Julia. Julia. I'm shocked how WWE has used Julia. I'm shocked. I don't know exactly who she's faced since she's been on the main roster, but it was someone else. I don't know if it was Jade Cargill. No, maybe it wasn't Jade Cargill. There was someone else that I said, have you paid close attention on who they feuded with? Maybe someone could refresh my memory. It might have been Jade Cargill when she came back. It might be someone else that is escaping me right now. But as far as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. As far as I can remember, Julia has faced Michin, B-Fab, and Zelina Vega. Now, before any of those three get upset or they're hardcore fans out there and the creepy guys and gals, I'm not criticizing their ability. But, people expected Julia to be right in there with Bianca Belair, with Naomi, with Tiffany Stratton, who was the champion, with the creme de la creme, the top of the top. They thought she was going to be with Stephanie Vaquera. We thought she was going to be feuding maybe with Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair. And it seems like they have put her with, do I dare say it? The Job Squad? Do I dare say it? They're not jobbers, but they're obviously they're the lower tier of the WWE food chain. Julia has, I don't know how long she's been on the main roster, but she has been given the lower end of the food chain. And this is, in many people's eyes, that could have been the top woman in that company. Is this like what they did with Asuka and Carmella and James Ellsworth? Is this what it is? I wonder if that's what it is. Because remember, Asuka came from NXT. And Asuka had that amazing streak with the NXT title. And I think this coming week is the anniversary that she had to relinquish the belt due to injury. She came up to the main roster. and was totally unstoppable. Charlotte Flair was her only kryptonite, but when we were looking at the women's division at that time, Asuka was here. Charlotte was there, but Asuka was here, and almost everybody else she feuded with was here. And it felt like, okay, it was a come to Jesus moment where WWE said we need to bring Asuka down to a level where people aren't shocked. Because when Asuka lost, I think at WrestleMania, people got very, very triggered by it. And it felt like WWE at that time was like, okay, we need to bring Asuka down to earth. So we're going to lose a bunch of matches to Carmella. Carmella? You know, that's kind of like, how people going to buy that? Well, we'll just get the goofy James Ellsworth to do stupid shit. He'll be like a mosquito. Like he keeps causing, and they did the stupid cage thing. They did the other thing, the shark tank, and James Ellsworth, kept fucking things up for Asuka. And what happened? They successfully got Asuka down to a level that if she lost a match here and there, it's no longer, what's wrong? Why are they treating Asuka like this? She's getting buried. Are they going to let her go? Have they lost faith in Asuka? No. After a while, you just got used to it. It almost feels like they did that with Julia. Julia was coming in from Japan with that pomp and circumstance. It wasn't the same as Stephanie Vaquer. Stephanie Vaquer was an undiscovered diamond that suddenly everybody realized when she showed up in AEW. And people were like, holy shit. She's tremendous. She had the look, she had the mystique, she had the aura, she had the ability. You just had to, use it the right way. WWE snatched her up. But it was out of nowhere. It was out of nowhere. 3 months earlier, nobody was talking about Stephanie Vaquer. 3 months later, everybody's talking about Stephanie Vaquer. With Julia, though, for years, Julia ever went to the States. Julia ever been, Julia. And then finally, Julia comes to the United States, and she's got that bar Asuka level. And WWE's like, we're not, and they tried it with NXT. And there was a point where Asuka and Stephanie Vaquer, early on, if you guys remember, early on, it felt like Stephanie Vaquer and Asuka, that Stand and Deliver, that's the Clash of the Titans. And WWE's like, no. Stephanie Vaquer is unknown from not too long ago, so we could, she's like, a one-hit wonder, but we're going to turn her into, obviously, a long-time superstar. With Julia, it's like, people have been fed the hype for too many years. We got to bring it down to earth a little bit. So not only are we not going to have regular fans cheer for her, so we'll turn her heel, but we'll put Kiana James with her for some reason, and we'll have her turn heel, and we'll give it a title, because she's a champion, but we'll have her spend all her time with B-Fab, Michin, and Zelina Vega. Again, I'm not disrespecting those women, but they are obviously on the, put it this way, if you have a movie, on the poster, you got, the famous actor and the famous actress, or if it floats your boat, the famous actor and the famous actor, or in some cases, pet, animal, and then you have in little credits supporting cast. They're the supporting cast. Doesn't mean that I don't fucking love what they do, but Julia, if you look like a billboard, Julia is the main name on the billboard, and then it says also starring, and these are the names on the bottom. And that's what WWE has done. Maybe in a month or two, they start shifting this a little bit. What Julia needs is for a big name like Bianca Belair or somebody, even if it's an Acme Insta feud, bumps into her in the back. Excuse me, you watch where you're walking? I don't know what you said, but Title, I think, would look good on me. How's about I challenge you to a match? You're on. That's it. There's your feud. She needs a Bianca Belair or somebody higher on the food chain to interact with her. And then all will be repaired. But right now, she is just, they're trying to domesticate her and they're trying to remove a lot of her aura. And I don't think that was necessary. I don't think it was necessary. I wonder if AEW, would it be crazy for me to say that AEW might have done a better job with Julia at this point if she signed with them on the main roster? I don't know. I'm just asking a question for a friend. Thank you, Charlie. Steve Joseph, my thoughts on Matt Riddle. Interesting guy. More of a nice guy than you think. Will speak his mind. Very talented, very surprised that he has gotten the bug this bit with wrestling. I will say that the accusation with the charity event, and I'm not just saying this for obvious reasons, but Matt Riddle definitely was treated like shit on that because the charity event just happened like 2 or 3 days earlier. And plus we're in a fucking holiday weekend last weekend. Give the guy an opportunity to give the deposit back. Then we learned afterwards that the guy in the UK, I think it was in the UK, was going to fly him in on a Thursday for like a Saturday event. And he was like, what am I supposed to do Thursday, Friday, and Saturday? What am I supposed to do? There's a lot of cafes around. There's plenty of places you could walk barefoot. Like, what are you supposed to do? For wrestlers, especially because the day before, all right, Friday afternoon, Friday evening, but, Thursday, if anybody knows anything about international travel, you bring someone in on a Thursday, it's a substantially amount cheaper. And then you got 2-3 stops along the way. And Matt Riddle's like, what is this? And then Matt Riddle's like, then there was a problem with the contract. And then at the last minute, I guess to get a little bit of additional attention, because if you look at the original advertisements, this was not a charity event. Suddenly, there was a charitable cause involved with it. And now, suddenly, Matt Riddle no-shows charity event. For a lot of douchebags online that are just looking for anybody to click on their websites for news, that's a great story. But there was a lot missing from it. And when you start realizing some of the other things involved, honestly, if I'm Matt Riddle, I'm like, fuck you. Seriously. And I'm not just saying that, to stick up for him or because, his girlfriend, it has nothing to do with it. Business is business. And it reminds me of, what was it, AOP? Trying to do their promotion, and they were going to advertise Nia Jax, and they were going to do this and this days before, and people are like, I'm not going. What AOP made the mistake of, AOP should have found any type of tragedy in that area where they live. A volcano erupted. We're now going to donate some of the proceeds towards volcano relief or something. Maybe that would have gotten a little bit of additional attention. Nah, the promoter was an asshole. Promoter was there, especially 2-3 days after. This was not a Jacob Fatu situation where, remember the incident with Jacob Fatu and that charity event? They waited an awful lot of time and then, they ended up working things out. But 2-3 days to put that stuff out there, I'm like, man, even if Matt Riddle said, fuck you, I'm going to spend the money on new slippers. I ain't giving you your money back. Fuck you. I would have turned around and said, you know what? That promoter deserved it. Athletic Gamer saw this every year, but turned 25. Say this every year, but turned 25. Sucks. God bless Kevin. I did a tribute drawing months ago. DM me on Twitter, JFK Hearts. Wait, is this the one? Is this the one that I look at every day? If it's not, I'm sorry. But Is this the one you're talking about? I don't know if that's the one you're talking about, but I have tributes all over my computer. Trust me, I have tributes everywhere. I have a lot of tributes. I have Kev around, even in the back, you know, I always keep him around. But I got a lot of tributes sent to me for Kevin, from videos to drawings to montages to posters. It's rough, man. It sucks. It's hard. And, you know, I could only imagine how his family feels and felt. I'm going to be doing an episode on Patreon with John Draper, his brother, very, very soon. And, you know, he passed away in April, May, June, July, August, September. We're 5 months since. And it still doesn't feel real. It still doesn't feel real. You know, there's a lot of things that were never made public. Enough was made public so everybody understands what happened, not only physically, but mentally too. And even in death, you know, he has helped a lot of people. A lot of people. There's an awareness. He's helped me. I'm going Tuesday to my hematologist because I got a problem with my blood. You know, I'm going to be going to get treatment for my skin cancer. And especially with the skin stuff, I put that shit off for like 10 years. For 10 years, I've had these spots and shit like that. And I'm just like, you know, my hair will cover it up. But after a while, and that's not the only spot, but after a while, you know, the hair doesn't stay dark anymore. And I'm not going to start dyeing my chest hair. So, you know, now I got to do something about it. Then I get weird things. I don't know if you guys could see this. You see this? See this? That's not a zit. And that's not a mosquito bite. I don't know if you could see this. That's not anything either. But I just get like a weird like feeling, and I'll just go like this. And I'm like, oh, I just like ripped half my face off. I just had an itch, and I just go like this, and next thing I know, I'm bleeding. I'm like, what the hell is that? Never had that before. So, you know, little things like that, it just tells me, you know, if something seems off, go get it checked out. You know, that's what you have coverage for. So, yeah, rest in peace to Kev, man. Rest in peace. And if you're only 25 years old, athletic gamer, God bless you, man. I would take 45 at this point. Much love to you, my friend. And he says, I mentioned cloud chasing last week. The most infamous person known for that is Logan Paul. He's done many things. He's trashed people, praising it. Listen, Logan Paul, I still don't like him as a person. That shit that he did over in the Far East, he should have been in jail for that. The only thing that we could hope for is that Logan Paul goes to the United Kingdom and he gets arrested at the airport. I'm sure you guys heard about that story about that comedian that went to the United Kingdom. I don't know if he went there for a vacation or whatever, and he got arrested at the airport because of things he tweeted. In the United States, he tweeted about trans stuff. And listen, jokes or no jokes. Now I hear you go to the United Kingdom, and if you even say something on social media, you get arrested over it. You know, maybe Logan Paul will go to the United Kingdom and they'll arrest him for shit that he said in the past. Look, Logan Paul, hopefully with marriage, with children, with age, he matures. Look at CM Punk. You know, CM Punk, tremendous wrestler. CM Punk, lifelong wrestler. Lifelong wrestling fan. But, you know, I do remember the days when CM Punk was a major fucking asshole. And, you know, if you went to a wrestling event, you had a remotely hot-ass girlfriend, you better make sure you're sitting in fucking 95th row, because if you're sitting front row, you know, not saying CM Punk would just hit on everybody, but CM Punk, there's a reason why everybody thought CM stood for Chick Magnet. CM Punk had a way with the ladies, and he would also have a way with insulting people at ringside. If you remember, guys, if you never saw it, I co-owned the rights to the match. I did numerous events with the Mass Maniac that I was financially involved with, and I owned certain matches. And I have a match of CM Punk versus Ian Rotten. And the funny thing is, if you go on YouTube, I don't know if it's Title Match Network, but somebody posted the video. And it's edited. It's edited, heavily edited. They edited like 5 minutes off of the match. Now, me personally, I was thinking, I should be an asshole and just file a trademark, copyright on it. But they edited the match down. And I thought, well, maybe they edited out like some boring parts until I watched my original footage. And they edited out CM Punk saying some pretty horrible things about some people at ringside. Things that if anybody really wanted another reason to try to cancel his ass out, they could rehash this footage, which I don't think you should. But I played that on an old episode of The Sit Down on a Sunday night. I played the entire match. We watched it. And you go look at those unedited parts and you'll be like, oh, now I know why they edited this. But CM Punk has matured with age. Obviously no children, but Larry is considered children for him. It's a furry kid, fur kids. But CM Punk, as he got older, he matured. And obviously some experiences in AEW also, matured him a little bit more. And I think CM Punk also realized, I don't have many options left in wrestling. So, we can only hope that Logan Paul, as he gets older, gets so embarrassed with what he used to do, and he never does it ever again. So I always feel that redemption should be on the table for someone. You should always give someone the opportunity for redemption. And I think CM Punk has redeemed himself in a lot of ways. Listen, even before the shit that happened in AEW, when he first went to AEW, only the people, remember, CM Punk was the voice of the voiceless. He was also the voice of the voiceless in AEW for people out there that really couldn't speak up because, AEW is all they had. And they didn't have any pull, and they weren't kissing the ass of the elite and the people backstage. Not everybody was a Brandon Cutler and everybody else that pretty much had a job for, as long as they wanted. There was a lot of people there that were being misused, not used much, and, they really didn't have many other options. CM Punk comes in there, and CM Punk says what he means and means what he says, and he's not going to turn, a lot like what Dax Harwood ended up becoming. And Dax Harwood does it for his family. He's got wife and kids. I get it. I'm not ripping him. But, life changes you. So I think CM Punk, is proving that. I think hopefully Logan Paul down the line proves that. Combo. I used to love them. The pizza flavored ones, combos. Oh my God. They debuted when I was in high school. They debuted in high school and in the 80s. And when they used to sell the bags, if anybody remembers, anybody that's as old as me, the little bags of like cheese doodles and pretzels and potato chips, there'd be a quarter. And you would give a quarter, but the bags were tiny. They were almost like the Halloween size. You go to like people's houses for Halloween and they give you a bag of chips. You're like, the fuck is this? What am I going to do with this? Like 3 chips in the bag. They're like the tiny, tiny little versions of it. But when combos came out, the bags were like this. They weren't giant size where you bring it home and then you realize you got like 7 servings. And it wasn't tiny either. The combos used to be about this size. So it was enough that if you ate multiple bags a week, you get this. Thoughts on TNT Sports reportedly coming off HBO Max next year and the impact of AEW on AEW. Apparently TNT Sports will have their own app. I take pride in this. I will criticize AEW when necessary. I have a lot of criticism about Tony Khan, but I will also keep it fair. Like, look, last week was the lowest Collision in their ratings history, Dynamite was awful too. I think I was the only person or the first person online that said, let's be fair, everyone. SmackDown scored its lowest rating ever. Raw was down a couple of 100,000 viewers. NXT is down 25% from a couple of weeks ago. Every show bombed in the ratings last week. Every show. So, but that wasn't sexy. You know, after a couple of days, then some people are like, well, to be fair, even Dave Meltzer yesterday, what do you all feel is the reason that all the shows were down last week? Well, why didn't you say that last week? I have said this for at least 7-8 months now. The day that AEW goes to HBO Max or TNT Sports or wherever when their Dynamite and Collision, if it's still around, the day that they go to the streaming only will be a great day for AEW. And I'll tell you the reasons why. Streaming is the future. Streaming is the future. Cable TV is hemorrhaging viewers. DirecTV just had a $15 increase just to try to compensate for all the people that they lost. I have customers who have their insurance with me and I do their taxes, and they'll come in and say, hey, could I pay my property tax here? Yeah, no problem. While I'm here, could I pay my cable bill? Yeah, no problem. I look at it and I'm like, you're paying $300 for cable? I mean, I get it. They have Italian TV, they have RAI and all this other shit, but $250 for cable. And I remember 5 years ago, the idea was, hey, cut the cord and you just go streaming. You have internet already. Go to YouTube TV, $40. You have pretty much everything. WWE Network, $9.99, $50. I already have internet, so I just pay an extra $50. I save $200 off my cable bill every month. Now, it's an app for this, it's an app for this, it's an app for this, it's an app for this. You want to bundle this? No problem. You want $10 off AEW pay-per-views? No problem, but you got to pay for Max. Well, how am I really saving money? So the future is streaming. It'll... Technology-wise, it's an advancement. The platform is an advancement. When you realize the hundreds of millions of subscribers that some of these platforms have, there'll be more people to access it. And not only that, it changes the scope of the deal. The fact that AEW is still charging $50 for pay-per-views is very, it exposes that AEW is not the big, the preteen that's on its way of growing to be a prime, strong adult yet, because HBO Max is not there yet. HBO Max, Warner Brothers Discovery, I should say. Warner Brothers Discovery is heavily involved with AEW, but they're not at that level yet where it could be a streaming platform product like WWE is. WWE is still USA Network and CW, but eventually those are going to go to Netflix and maybe ESPN, and then you're going to realize that, so the only way to watch WWE now is on an app. Just like premium live events, WWE Network, on an app. If you live in Balochistan, you might have to pay for a pay-per-view because the streaming platform is not available. So when AEW becomes a streaming-only item, that'll be a huge plus for them. Because now when you start inking deals, you possibly could land a deal similar like WWE. I'm not saying $1.6 billion for 5 years, but you might be able to get $500 million for 5 years, and the pay-per-views are included in the subscription price. Once HBO Max is at that point where they can regularly stream live events, they already have Dynamite, and eventually the pay-per-views. Right now they're just starting, but in a year or two, I predict that AEW will be off TNT, will be off TBS, or a majority of their product will be on the streaming apps. Some people in the media fucking hate it. With all due respect, WrestleNomics won't be able to figure creatively, how do we do the quarter-hour ratings? You ever ask yourself how to get those quarter-hour numbers? Do you know any other TV show, any other sports event, anything out there where, TV.com, soapopera.com, sports.com, any other platform out there that gives you every 15 minutes? But for some reason, for one product, which is wrestling, Dax Harwood took a shit, did 664,000 viewers. No. What you do is you could see what the rating was at the end of the other show, and you see it after hour 1, and you see after hour 2, and you see the trend, and you try to get a little creative with the numbers. Remember, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but it was me that a year ago started calling out WrestleNomics. Hey, you're telling everyone on social media, buy our Patreon, and you must give us credit for our numbers. And then I said, how come you don't reveal how come you don't give credit where you get the numbers from? Do you work for the cable industry? Do you work for Nielsen? Where do you get your numbers from? And it took about a month and enough people unsubscribing them. And then suddenly on the bottom, courtesy of broadcasting and cable, courtesy of Nielsen. Now the cute one with Dave Meltzer, confirmed by WrestleNomics, who confirmed it from broadcasting and cable, who confirmed it from... Don't waste your money, guys. When everything goes on the app, it's going to turn into the scene from Scanners. The heads are going to explode. Then they're going to realize we have no access to ratings anymore. It drives fucking Dave Meltzer crazy that he can't fucking get breakdown numbers and none of us can. None of us can. The idea in 2025 that Max would air football, basketball, baseball, movies, TV shows, and everything else. And when it comes to negotiating, just think about this for a minute. The only reason why he gets away with it is because no one out there challenges him like this. And I say this with respect to him. I'm not making fun of him. But when it's time to negotiate a new deal with HBO Max, you don't think HBO Max goes in the room and says, listen, we only want to give you $10 million next year. Well, why not? Because your ratings aren't that good. Well, what are my numbers? I can't tell you that. How dare you say NBA has no idea? This TV show has no idea. AEW has no... How the fuck do you negotiate a new deal on a streaming platform when you don't even know what your success is or your inept is? You negotiate a new deal. Hey, I think we should get $200 million. Why do you say that? Because our numbers are amazing on Max. No, they're not. Well, what are they? I can't tell you that. There's no fucking Chinese hidden secret. What was that? Calgon. Remember those Calgon commercials? Ancient Chinese secret. Ain't no fucking secrets like that. It's just none of your business. So, hope you got your money's worth. But the future for AEW is streaming. And that will get them exposed to many more people. And the idea, even if HBO Max ends up being $20 a month down the line, the fact that you could get all their TV and their premium live, their pay-per-views for $20 a month, they'll make more money that way. Again, if AEW was as profitable as some people say, you don't think Tony Khan would be bragging about it? There's no reason to hide it. Look at the press release last week about AEW pay-per-views on HBO Max. I was the only person online that brought it to everybody's attention. Everybody saw it, but everybody wants to get, be part of the clique. And if you criticize it, then you get, the trolls and the haters. HBO Max puts out a press release about HBO Max and AEW pay-per-views coming to them. And the final paragraph, they don't mention anything about AEW's existing success on Max. The whole press release is about their app. And you don't mention the current success on the app? I wasn't expecting them to reveal specific numbers. They didn't say a word. Why wouldn't you say a word? That is telling. That is telling. And remember, if I could describe the IWC and the elite media and the podcasters and some of these outrageous fans, if I could describe AEW with Dax Harwood and everybody else, if I could describe AEW in one word, it is insecure. Insecure. Everything has to be epic, amazing, unbelievable. There has to be excuses. The rating is this. Did not include max numbers. Did not include max numbers. With other shows, does not include the replay at 11 p.m., does not include the Tuesday replay, does not include this. There's always something to cover something else up. And the BJ Bethel thing, God bless him, he's going to go down in history for that one moment, unless he tragically commits a crime or something else happens. BJ Bethel will forever be known as just shitting out of his ass a number that everybody fucking ran to because they didn't expect it to come from him. My sources tell me. That's good enough for me. We're not a publicly traded company. That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. Because he knows that HBO Max is not going to say, the fuck you talking about? You ain't got no source. He will go down in history as that guy that pulled a rabbit out of his ass. And the people that desperately needed to grasp on something. I hate to go politics, but it's like that Herman Abreu. What's that guy's name that's going to be deported to fucking some remote country in Uganda? The fucking MS-13 guy. And, if you look on TV, every picture is him smiling with his wife, him smiling. Oh, what a beautiful, clean-cut boy. And then you find out everything else that the guy did. Because the people who despise Trump, and again, I didn't vote for him, and I don't think I'm voting for anybody this year. But the people that despise the ICE raids and everything else, they were praying for that one camera moment where ICE grabs a little kid, like from back in the day. And that's their moment. They couldn't find anyone. So they had to stick with a clean-cut fucking guy that he can't be a terrorist. He looks too much like a nice guy. They needed to grab onto someone. And, in the political world, it's that fucking Abreu guy, the illegal immigrant, MS-13 guy. And in the wrestling world, for AEW ratings, it's PJ Bethel. So. All right. Jim Kahn. With streaming taking off, where does that leave TV news? Oh, everything's going streaming. You look at legitimate news reporters who are leaving networks, not always by force, to make their own brand. Streaming is the future. When WWE put AAA on YouTube, I laughed without naming any names besides Meltzer, ripping that it was only on YouTube. You realize how much ad revenue came in from that? That's still coming in from that? Algorithm hits it and fucking recommended feed. You fall asleep in the middle of the night and you forget to turn your TV off, and then you wake up in the middle of the night. Codan with Corey Graves. Let me tell you this story, like the AAA, Triple Mania. Or no, Worlds Collide. It shows up on my feed. Do you have any idea how many times I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, why is fucking Eric Bischoff on my TV? Because it shows up as a recommended fucking video. And if I don't change it quickly, it fucking starts playing it. Jim Cornette pops up all the time because I do watch his stuff. But WWE made a lot of money. Plus, what people don't understand is you look at the AAA roster, how much you think some of those people make? Some of you out there should ask Conan. I don't think he would really say it because it's none of our business. But there's quite a few people that work in AAA that probably don't even make $100,000 a year. When you realize you could go to a AAA pay-per-view in Mexico and front row tickets, I don't know if you could take home the chair because maybe too many people would think, oh, this is a weapon. Oh, I could use this on my way home. Maybe I get the free lunch, free wallet. I know I'm being a dick. You could sit front row for $70. $70. No, I don't want to sit front row. I might have sweat on me from a wrestler walking by. All right, you sit third row, $40. Maybe I'll sit in section 7. I'm farsighted. $25. How much money do you think these wrestlers make in Mexico? They make very, very little compared to the United States. Trust me. Let me put it this way. When Mr. Iguana, when he could buy shampoo to clean up Mr. Iguana after a night in the ring, oh, I got a bonus. Let's go buy shampoo. Let's clean up Mr. Iguana. I'm sure he's making more money now with the merchandise and everything, but a lot of these wrestlers make very, very little. You know, they make enough, but they make very little. Compared to American wrestlers, oh, even in Japan too. So, look, TV news, it's going to continue going to the apps. App is the new cable. I think in 10, 15 years, 10 years, cable TV will be pretty much the past. You'll have people that are still not used to cutting the cord. There'll be remnants of it still. I compared it very recently on Patreon. I compared it to portable TVs. When I was young and I used to go camping with my friends, or I used to go fishing with my friends, how many of you out there had the Sony Watchmans? You have a little TV. You know, you go to the baseball game. You'd sit there, but you would also watch it because you want to hear the commentators, or maybe you're watching something else. You know, you have a little portable TV that you take camping and you watch TV and everything. And whatever it was, 10 years ago, whatever, everything started going digital. And once everything went digital, those TVs were no longer worth anything. You can't watch anything on it. You could buy a Sony Watchman. I mean, if someone's buying it for a collectible, that's where it's got value. But if you go on eBay, you probably see Sony Watchmans for sale for $5 because you get it delivered to you and you're like, now what? What do I do with it now? Like, do I put it on display? Like, it once analog TV was gone, that was it. Became worthless. Apps and streaming is going to be replacing cable TV. Cable TV is going to be what the little Watchmans used to be. And that's what it is. That is exactly what has happened. And that's why, again, remember this. Remember this. I will never do another show again. I've been doing this since 97, so I put a lot on the line when I say this. I will never do another show again if this doesn't happen. The day that AEW, they announced that all of their product is going to be on a streaming app only, you're going to get a majority of people out there that are going to laugh at them, going to make fun of them. They're going to tell them that it was a failure. They're going to say, what a downgrade. They're going to make it seem like AEW took a step backwards. But in actuality, they took a major step forward. That is what's going to happen. Mark my words. Listen, I'm right there with everybody else cracking jokes when necessary about Tony Khan and AEW. But I'll also keep it very real, and trust me, with the data. And let me tell you something, the day that happens is the day that you realize that AEW could start making some serious money. Because right now, we have no idea how much Tony Khan is really taking in compared to what he is spending. And I've said it before, he could lose $100 million for each year for 20 years. And it doesn't even put a dent in the Khan fortune. Think about that. $100 million lost every year for 20 years. And the Khan family fortune is like, it's nothing. It's nothing. So, you know, it'll that's the future. That's the future. All right. How long have we gone so far? We've gone 90 minutes already. So we will continue another half hour. We'll finish at 2 hours. Yes, for baseball fans and locally here in New York, I found out about it today. I didn't even hear about it yesterday. Rest in peace to Davey Johnson. legendary manager in baseball. My favorite Mets manager of all time. My favorite manager of all time is Billy Martin. My second favorite manager of all time is Davey Johnson. I love the way he handled the Mets. I followed him in the early 80s when he was managing the minor league team. He came up with the Mets in 84, I believe. No, 84. It might have come up in 83. It's either 83, 84, but did a spectacular job. I actually enjoyed him being a manager with the Baltimore Orioles as well. He actually was a great manager. I got to meet him like 3 times over the years. Went to a Mets convention many, many years ago. One time saw him in Queens, and another time it was a dinner party, and he happened to be there with a bunch of others. So he was a player's manager. You know, he was very laid back, down to earth. You know, didn't try to be one of the boys. He would let the boys be boys, but he would trust them enough in what they could do. And I think why Davey Johnson's the most successful manager in Mets history and has the highest winning percentage in Mets history. My only thing that I could say on top of this is too bad they didn't have the wild card in the 80s. If they had the wild card in the 80s, the Mets and the Yankees would have been in the playoffs. For the Yankees, almost every year in the 80s. For the Mets, I think from 84, possibly 84, but from 85 to 89 or even 90, I think they would have made the wild card, have been very, very close to it. Plus, I think it would have changed history because they wouldn't have fallen as far back as they did in the early 90s with Dallas Green and even Buddy Harrelson for a little while. And so it's sad, but 82 years old. He died 82 years old. And that scares the shit out of me because I'm in my mid-50s. So I'm like, wow, you know, I think he lived a healthier lifestyle than me. And that means 30 years from now, I'm gone. You imagine me 30 years from now? Oof. Rest in peace, Davey Johnson. Michael Gonzalez, do I have any interest in The Rock's upcoming movie, The Smashing Machine? Not only do I have interest in it, if you go back, I don't remember which episode it is. Look at the thumbnail for the episode where have The Smashing Machine as the thumbnail for that episode. Kev was still with us, God rest his soul. We had a discussion in that episode, and we predicted that The Rock is going to win an Academy Award. Everything we heard from that movie was that he was taking this extremely seriously. And the early word is that his acting in this movie might be some of the greatest acting he has ever done. And listen, I get, you know, what we could say about the final boss and what people think, you know, the power he tried to pull in WWE, which still to this day I find laughable. I definitely want to see it. And I'm standing by what we said. And trust me, if he wins an Academy Award, you best damn believe that I will repost that discussion that Kevin and I had. Because everything that we heard about it, putting aside the wrestling stuff, you know, and he got a standing ovation at the Venice Film Festival. I guess they rate the movies that they all see, you know, they go over. Do you know the last time that I remember something that wrestling related that also got a standing ovation at the Venice Film Festival? The Wrestler. Remember the movie The Wrestler? Go research it. Did you see anybody in wrestling this week bring up that at the Venice Film Festival, The Wrestler got a standing ovation? And I think many people to this day feel that Mickey Rourke's work in The Wrestler was award-winning. So I'm definitely want to see it. Shout out to Not JPEG. How's my weekend been? It's been okay. Had my wedding anniversary Thursday. My fucking microwave started giving me problems again. So next week we got to change the microwave. I did figure out that it's moisture related, but I can't take a chance of starting a fire in this house. Tomorrow's back to work. Tomorrow, Raw is normal schedule. And then after that, the next 3 weeks, Raw starts an hour earlier. And then they go to Australia and Raw will be at 8 a.m. How's that? Raw will be live at 8 a.m. when they go to Perth. So, next week's show that we do Monday nights will start an hour earlier for 3 weeks. And then the week of Australia, we'll do pre-record like we did when they were in Paris. So, Scorpio 1117, am I missing a super shout out? I did not see anything come in. Nothing came in, to be honest with you. I'm looking. Yeah, nothing came in. You could post it now, but you definitely didn't. Oh, wait. Something just popped in. Look, I'm not even going to touch the screen. I guess the program is a little slow today. They're a little slow. Look, I'm purposely not touching the screen. Well, you said what happened to the We Want Cross chants. Also thoughts on Mariah May, a.k.a. Blake Monroe. I think she's being misused in terms of a character. Don't worry, it'll come up. As far as We Want Cross goes, here's the thing. And trust me, there's a lot of people out there that are rooting for him. Obviously, I'm rooting for him. And I still think that unless he signs a substantial deal with a promotion between now and next year, if he's still available, I think WWE brings him back next year. I think WWE brings him in, if not at the same time with the Righteous, maybe a little afterwards. I feel like WWE has left off with Cross that, look, go out, make your money, do your thing. Right now, we just don't have any room for you. We don't have any. This is, again, I don't have any inside knowledge. And even if I asked him when I do interview him, because I'm third way into the book, when I finish the book, I'm going to ask him if he'd like to come on for a little while. I don't know why your thing didn't pop up yet, but I'm sure it will. But I am convinced you don't take popularity like that and just flush it down the toilet. What pissed me off more is you see the video of him with special needs kids. Oh, no, you stop doing that. You're a heel. And meanwhile, and I know this is unfair. I get it. It's totally unfair. But meanwhile, I see Drew McIntyre doing the same fucking thing. And it's all over WWE.com. And I'm like, fuck is wrong with you, WWE? I am convinced that at some point in the last month, WWE talked to Cross and said, listen, for the rest of the year, going into WrestleMania, this is where we're going. We don't have any room. Barring injury or something else, we don't have any room. Unfortunately, you're not involved. Go out, build your brand, continue building your brand, make your money. If you do land a big deal somewhere, God bless you. Nothing but the best intended. But if you're still available next year, we would love to bring you back. And we hear about the Righteous finishing up indies the next couple of months. So I think that that's what's going on with Cross. The reason why you're not hearing the chants as much in the arenas is because it's going on deaf ears. WWE's not going to, you could do it every fucking match. And if anything, you're going to piss off WWE even more. Of course, we would love to see him back, most of us. But chanting it, screaming it, chanting it, it comes off now as trolling than anything else. as long as you keep it online and as long as you support what he does and where he goes and you stand by him, that is good enough. Me personally, the chanting on TV is not going to help it at all. They know how much the fans got behind him. They're not suddenly going to be like, all right, who's next? Yeah, they're taking it out on Sami Zayn a little bit, which is a little bit unfair. It's not Sami Zayn's fault. But even Sami Zayn, they don't really have much for him until WrestleMania time. They're rehashing Jimmy Uso and other stuff. They literally, you could see it. Look at Damian Priest. Look at Aleister Black. Outside of Sheamus, what the fuck is next with Rusev? What is he going to do? Start choking out Otis? He already did that. Like, you start really, what's he going to do? Fight Penta? You start really micro-analyzing this. You even see with Julia. Yeah. I mean, no Bianca Belair right now. You get the injured figure. No, we're not going to do that. Meechin. And you could see WWE is really, really focused on the players that brought them to the game. They'll have some room, but look at the Street Profits. I personally think the Street Profits, if they split, is going to be one of the most misused tag teams in recent memory. It is unbelievable. I remember that SummerSlam when they were dressed in white and we thought, that's it. They had a 5-star match with the Usos like a month and a half before. That's it. That SummerSlam, here we go. And then we realized, no, the bloodline. The bloodline. And the Usos were going to go on a historic run. And it destroyed the Street Profits. You could give him Bobby Lashley. You could have Montez Ford smiling. You could talk about smoke. You could growl like you're looking like you just smelled somebody's asshole. You could put B-Fab. You could put B-Train. You could put B-Squared. You could put anything you want. The Street Profits, I swear to God, I would rather see the Street Profits in AEW. I swear to God, I'd rather see him in AEW. That is, to me, arguably the most misused tag team that WWE has used in recent memory. So that's how I feel about Cross. I don't know why you think didn't show up. I don't know. That's really bizarre. I wonder if something faltered over here. But as far as Mariah May, I think they're rebuilding Mariah May on TV. I think it's Jade Cargill, but with much more ability. Jade Cargill left AEW, and WWE realized, we have to gut this, start from scratch. They didn't have to gut Mariah May and start it from scratch, but they already have a Tiffany Stratton, with the gimmick. You have to create an identity for Mariah May that is unique to a lot of others, and it is a slow build for them. People got used to Mariah May at a higher level in AEW, and they thought, bring her in. She put her right on the main roster. No need for NXT. They had to give her a new name. They had to recreate the whole character, and they're still trying to tweak it and find it. People forget. Tiffany Stratton's not a good example because Tiffany Stratton is still young and really did not have the wrestling background. But when she came in and she really started to show everyone that she can go, and, they had to tweak her character. Remember, she was daddy's little girl and the spending and they tweaked it a little bit, and they got it to a point where it got her to the next level. The problem is now she's on the main roster and everybody there is polished. So now people think, her personality sucks, or she's not meant to be a baby face and something is just missing. And it happens. It happens. They're going to have to tweak her further. But Blake Monroe, it's a total rebuild. If anything, couldn't you say the same thing about Ethan Page or Ricky Saints? Ethan Page is already there over a year. Ricky Saints is not that far behind. And does it feel like, Ethan Page has progressed where he could be on the main roster? Not yet. If he goes on the main roster, he's going to get jobbed out. He's gonna be the male Chelsea Green. And I don't say that. And Chelsea Green's one of my favorite wrestlers, but Chelsea Green, she makes more money losing than she does winning. And the winning is kind of to reward once in a while, but Chelsea Green is better suited to be that asshole to, trigger people and piss them off a little bit. And she gets her ass kicked and she sells it like $1 million and everybody goes home happy. That's kind of like what they're doing with Ethan Page. And I am a big fan of Ethan Page. I'm a fan of Ethan Page. So, when Tiffany went to Fallon's farm, it's a rebuild. It's a complete rebuild. Mariah May, they're going to keep tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. I still think that they should have kept part of her name. I like Mariah Monroe. I don't know. It's just something about it. Mariah Monroe is just so much better. I know Blake is more of a unisex kind of name. I know I've seen women named Blake. I've seen men named Blake. One of the famous people in Hollywood, Blake Edwards. But I would have said Mariah Monroe. To me, I think that would have been so much better with the scripts with MM. I could see it I could close my eyes and see it on the screen. It'd be so much better. Yeah, it's close to Marilyn Monroe, of course. That's the idea. It's the idea. Mariah Monroe. She looks like Marilyn Monroe. Mariah Monroe, of course. That's the idea. Mariah Blake. I don't like the last name Blake. I don't know. I don't like it. To me, it's when you say Blake, it sounds like you're stopping short. Like when you think of Mariah Monroe or even Blake Monroe. I'm Mariah Monroe. I'm Mariah Blake. It's kind of, it's like, it just stop short. It doesn't flow. There's certain words that flows. That's why even Ricky Saints, it's different from Ricky Starks, but it's still Ricky Saints, Ricky Starks. It's some words just flow. Blake just sounds like an abrupt halt. Yeah, Tony says Blake is like a guy's name to him. Yeah, there's some names that are very unisex. That's fine. Blake May. Oh my God. That's even worse. Blake May. Blake May. It's not a bad name, but not for her. You use the Monroe because she's blonde, she's a bombshell, she looks like she could be a Marilyn Monroe type of actress. So you use the name in tribute. There's nothing wrong with using names in tribute. And wrestlers have used names in tribute in the past. So Tristan wants to know my opinion, why was Austin McMahon's rivalry so significant to wrestling and Monday Night War? Because it was going against your boss. In the 90s, it was Girls Gone Wild. In the 90s, it was Bill Clinton. I didn't blow my load on that dress. It was Jerry Springer. It was the internet boom. It was, holy shit, I could get porn in 10 seconds. It was, over the top. MMA came around, extreme wrestling, extreme this. So having someone representing you telling your employer, go fuck yourself, drinking beer, everybody, well, not everybody, but then again, I did shave my head, but I did it for charity. Everybody who had a receding hairline decided to go bald. Everybody had Austin 316 shirts. It just felt like, he was doing what we always wanted to do to our bosses. For the kids, it was DX. For the young kids, it was going to school. Suck it. Hey, hey, Mr. Smith, suck it. Your kindergarten kid, suck it. Go do your homework. Suck it. For older, it was, fuck you to your boss. So he just represented that. And obviously, Steve Austin had a badass attitude as well. All right. We shall move on. Shout out to Dorian Mesa, channel member for 4 years. Wow. I still can't believe we've been doing this for like 4.5 years already. It's crazy how time flies. It's scary when you think about it. But, you know, in 2026, once the history show is done, I will be able to spend more time on the other shows, and I will be on video a hell of a lot more. Don't know if we're going to do a daily thing, but I know there's going to be enough people out there that will not be happy. We will definitely expand our presence online. It's about that time. But you know, hopefully health-wise and, you know, real life, you know, doesn't get in the way, you know, so. And plus, I still love wrestling. The number one reason why I do this is because I love wrestling, you know, more than anything. I love the interaction. I love being able to, you know, bounce ideas and debate and discuss with all of you. And, you know, we don't have to worry about anybody really jumping down someone's throat. You know, you can have a difference of opinion. I've always been like that. And it's just awesome to still be able to do that. So I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you, believe me. Theme Parks and Things with Johnny celebrating 44 months. He saw I posted the Wyatt 6 haunted house in Orlando, but he put a point of view of the house in Hollywood, and it's different. Oh, I'm going to check that out. Absolutely. You know, a lot of people don't realize that WWE has the Wyatt 6 haunted house in Universal, California, Hollywood as well. I am definitely going to watch it. I'm good. In fact, tonight before I go to sleep, I will definitely check out your channel. And if it's all right, I'll put a link too. What's the timestamp? Oh, we're almost at 2 hours, so I'll remember. I'll put a link up, a card up, if anybody wants to go check it out. I got a lot of positive feedback from everyone who went. It's obviously intended for WWE fans. And if we're honest, I haven't seen the one in California, but the one in Orlando, up until the final third of the haunted house, it's not very creepy. It's almost cool. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if I'm walking in the haunted house and fucking Huskus the pig, like, comes up to me and tries to scare me, I'm like, hey, how you doing? You know? By the way, I shouldn't give this away now, but on the next history show next weekend, we celebrate the 2 other members of the Wyatt 6 that unfortunately did not make the cut. The puppets. 2 other puppets. And we're not talking about Vince McMahon either. Who in the chat room, besides the boss, name me 2 puppets that were in the Firefly Funhouse. One was visible, one wasn't. Who are the 2 puppets that everybody has forgotten about from the Firefly Funhouse? I know someone already brought up, well, Xander Elian and Kevin Walker already brought it up. Wobbly Walrus, the tribute to Paul Heyman, Wobbly Walrus. This coming week is the anniversary of Wobbly Walrus. They should have come out with a puppet. They just came out with a shirt, and the shirt sucked because it was light blue. It was powder blue. Is anybody... Well, Friendship Frog is another one. But who remembers who was supposed to debut before Wobbly Walrus? Does anybody remember? We never got to see him, though. I would have liked to have seen that puppet in the haunted house. I'll give it away. Pasquale the Parrot. People forget. We were supposed to get Pasquale the Parrot. But unfortunately, Bray Wyatt forgot to poke holes in the box. And apparently when he opened the box to introduce us to Pasquale the Parrot, Pasquale didn't make it. I was watching the old video. I was like, oh shit, Pasquale the Parrot. Pasquale. Wobbly Walls is good. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Wobbly the Walrus. That's exactly how they did it too. But you look at that haunted house, the first 2/3 of it, it's just cool. But my favorite is my favorite two parts of the whole entire haunted house, the one in Universal, my two favorites is when Alexa Bliss pops out. Because just see it. You'll be like, holy shit, that's awesome. The way she comes out, let me in. And then the final part where they show the original Wyatt compound. And you hear the original music. That was cool, man. That was very cool. All right. Liam Savage celebrating 27 months as a channel member. Thank you for all the great moments so far, DT. Best wrestling podcast of all time. I appreciate it. Trust me, little by little, I'm focusing on building the history online and making sure people never forget the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. And I'll tell you something very cool in a moment. You could all check it, and you could get back to me as homework. In fact, I would love to see some of you, and I don't just do this, hey, post a comment, because I know a lot of videos do that. They'll try to trigger you to post a comment, but I have a good one for you tonight. I'll tell you what it is in a minute. Mr. No Matter What, who just became a member of the family today. Thank you, my friend. Much love to you, my friend. Mr. No Matter What 11. Thank you. Welcome. And the villain, celebrating 5 months. Will Stephanie take the number 1 spot in the women's division? He likes Charlotte. See Charlotte and Rhea still battling for a long time. Charlotte is now the latter part of her career. She is now being respected more. I don't know how long the babyface run goes. I don't know if WWE would allow Stephanie Vaquer to be the number 1 woman. I think Rhea Ripley will remain the number 1 woman on Raw, and Bianca Belair will remain the number 1 woman on SmackDown, and others will be a very close second. If you go back and look at Asuka, unfortunately, Asuka was at her peak on the main roster when Charlotte was there. So Asuka, for many people, she was the best, but she always seemed that she was second or third from the top, which is fine. I think Stephanie Vaquer, especially because of the limited speaking, which will improve in time, I think she will be near the top, but she won't be the number 1 woman yet. And just because if she becomes champion doesn't mean she's the number 1 woman. I think she's winning at Wrestlepalooza. I think the Kabuki Warriors will turn on Io, or something happens and it backfires and Io loses as a result. And then they turn on Io. And I think Stephanie will try to save the day for Io to keep face. And but Stephanie will not be number 1. But for a lot of fans, she will be. And it's the eye of the beholder. If you think she's number 1, that's perfectly fine with me. Check this out. Grok. I don't use Grok much at all anymore. But I started going on like ChatGPT and Grok and a few other places. And I started asking, name me some of the longest wrestling podcasters in history. I started doing this about 6-7 months ago. And they would bring up Meltzer. They bring up Jason. They would bring up, I think, the Lapsed Fan. Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle's show never came up. And I started responding, well, what about Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle? I don't remember which channel it was, but it responded back and said, tell me more. And I was like, sure. And I started typing a bunch of stuff, and it linked up the website. Now, just for the fuck of it, the other day, I went on my office computer, not logged in or anything, and I said, name me some of the longest wrestling podcasters in history. And Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show was the second one they brought up, which I thought was cool. Grok now acknowledges it. The funny thing is, the first podcast that we did online was in 2003. That was the first time that we put the podcast online. We put hotline reports before it. If you go on Wayback Machine on my website, you'll see we put up hotline reports in 2000 online for everybody to hear. But 2003 is when we did our first podcast. And I've always written online since 1997 because that's when I was doing my hotline. The problem is hotlines and podcasts are two totally different things. So it would never acknowledge 1997. So when I started adding 2003, now all of a sudden it says since 2003, Don Tony and Kevin Castle have been. So now little by little, it's starting to acknowledge it. And the next step is to get on Wiki, and Wiki start putting out there that we are the longest running podcasters in history. So we'll see. We will see. Theme parks and things, I just realized that for some reason, visibly on a computer, nothing's popping up. I don't know why. And something must have just taken a shit. But Theme Parks and Things sent the 10 spot. It says, DT, I sent a milestone earlier, but he saw I put, he put the Wyatt Six House one up, but he put on here a point. Oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry. You didn't have to do that. But yeah, I mentioned it before. Absolutely, man. I'm going to post the link. I think I said I was going to do it in an hour and 52. So Benjamin says I might have been beaten by the Bulgarian Knitting Podcast as the first ever. Listen, people have said to me to report the Guinness that we're arguably one of the first, because we called it webcast at the time. We called it webcast. We took our show and we cast it on the web. And I'm sure I read the term webcast somewhere, but there is proof that we put it online in 2003. Just go to Wayback Machine, type in wrestling-news.com, and you go back to 2003, and you'll see it. Clear as day. There's enough proof online. The problem is I never focused on promotion online. And that's my mistake. For the last 20 years, we did not spend too much about promoting stuff online. Never too late, though. Never too late. Capon says WrestleCrap might be the first ever podcast. Could be. I never looked to see when WrestleCrap first started theirs. I don't really claim to be the first, so to speak, but the longest. I think we're the longest. I know for a fact because we were putting hotline reports up as early as 2000, or 1999. Late 1999, I think, might be the first time I ever put the hotline report online. I got to look at Wayback Machine because you'll see. I mean, put it this way. I had a hotline at the time. The most embarrassing thing I've ever done with wrestling hotlines. Does anybody remember the infamous name I named my wrestling hotline one time? We had the Blackheart Sports Entertainment Hotline. We had the Funkin' Blackhearts. But for a little while, I called my wrestling hotline the G-Spot. And my catchphrase was, when it comes to reporting accurate wrestling news, I hit the G-Spot every time. That is true. And if you go to wrestling-news.com on Wayback Machine, you will see around the year 1999 to 2000, and right center on my front page, the G-Spot hotline. I know it's awful. It's awful. And there's no surviving footage of me saying, hey, welcome to the G-Spot. I don't know why I named it that, but listen, I can't change history, but on my Wayback Machine, maybe I'll cap a screenshot and I'll show you all next week and you'll see it. Not very good. I think that lasted about 3 months. And then too many people were like, please change that name. Please change it. All right. Hey, listen, Dave Meltzer is obviously the longest. doing this. No question. But one thing I will say is Dave Meltzer has deteriorated substantially over the years. It's a shame that he doesn't see it. He has enough of a support group through AEW and Japanese wrestling that kind of cushions the blow a little bit. But, you know, it's a shame. And listen, age will do that to anybody. So, you know, I blame some of it on age. You know, it's going to be sad the day that Dave Meltzer is no longer doing this. He will be missed. He will absolutely be missed. Just like Jim Cornette. When Jim Cornette stops his podcast one day, he will be missed. No question. I fucking miss Kevin. You know, I miss bouncing conversations off. You know, and he'll never be replaced. I mean, down the line, I may end up doing a show with somebody, but it will never, ever replace Kev. That vibe, you know, we were so similar, but yet so different, you know, and we just happened to get together by accident. That just goes to show you, by fucking accident. You know, he just happened to be a caller on my hotline, and just something about his comments stood out. And there you go. All right. Tony Randall says a strip club his dad bounced was called the Wet Spot. See, I could see that for a strip club, or I could see that for like a pool place, like a community pool. I mean, I don't know if that would get over with a community. Because you imagine your kids, Mommy, can I go to the Wet Spot? I could picture like the father in the background going, wait. Do I have it here? I thought I had it here. I thought I had my Beavis laughs here. I'm not going to start pressing the mixer and fucking things up. We've been glitch free for the last month with the mixer, so I'm not going to screw it up. I still find Jim Cornette and Brian Last very entertaining. They obviously, you know, miss the boat once in a while, but everybody does. I still find it entertaining. They're definitely the number one show out there. They got a major following. And listen, say what you want about JD, but JD has done a spectacular job building his brand too. JD, you know, out as far as somebody who has been in the business, I'm talking about somebody on TV and everything, you know, he built his brand, and, you know, however he built it, you may not like the way he built it, but he built it. And, you know, he's doing a great job also. And, you know, JD, we coming for you. No, we're not. There's too many wrestling fans to go around. You know, put it this way. If you remember wrestling drug addicts from the 80s, what they used to say, they used to do uppers during the day and they take downers at night. You do coke during the day and then you take sleeping pills at night. You take things to keep you up during the day and you take things to go to sleep. So kind of compare JD and me to the same thing. Like, JD is what you take during the day to keep you up, and me is where you just kick back and relax, and, you know, you kind of like start, you know, at nighttime. That's what it is. Hey, not everybody likes JD and not everybody likes me. You know, to each his own. Then you got Jason and you got Joe and a whole bunch of others out there. I mean, you know, listen, even the people that I disagree with, you know, they still work their ass off. And I give them that. You know, it's just the ones out there that intentionally clickbait to drag you in. I saw something today that really pissed me off. It was on MSN, believe it or not. Oh, I know what it was. MSN. They would talk. This is why I got so like angry at the beginning of the show about Ronda Rousey. MSN, don't ask me why it pops up on my feed, but it says Ronda Rousey discusses a possible MMA fight at the White House. Oh, okay. I want to, could she pop? And literally, there's this long article on MSN, and it talks about Ronda Rousey and what she's done in MMA and WWE and everything. And you finally get to the last paragraph, and it says that on the Lapsed Fan podcast, Ronda Rousey says, I ain't fucking fighting at the White House. it reminded me of that one that I've always talked about for decades. That back in the early 2000s, there was a website that would try to clickbait you, and at the bottom of every article, they would write something to try to get you to click. And one time, and I know you've heard this a million times before, but one time it said, Booker T on this Monday's Raw, click here for details. So I clicked on it because I didn't hear anything about Booker T showing up on Raw. And as soon as I click on it, it says, no, he's a SmackDown guy. And I was like, you fucking cocksucker. I fucking clicked on it, had to deal with all these pop-ups just for you to say to me, no, he's a SmackDown guy. Why would you think he'd be on Raw? That's kind of what the Ronda Rousey article was today. This entire article just to get to one sentence where Ronda Rousey says, I ain't fighting at the White House. That's what people do. I will never ever do that. I had someone send me a nasty email about this. DT, aren't you clickbaiting with that Wade Barrett thumbnail? I'm like, no. Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore were removed from the SmackDown commentating team. That's not false. We talked about it and we explained it. It's bad news for us. He's off the team. But the question is, did it have to do with Nikki? Did it have to do with Pat McAfee returning? Did it have to do with time off? We discussed all of that. But you don't see anywhere where I put commentator shakeup. Some people said that, how many websites and podcasts said this? Wade Barrett's tenure as commentator has come to an end. Some of your favorites, some of the people that are very well respected actually wrote that. His tenure has come to an end. That's clickbait, not that. Roderick Howard. What's up, Roddy? With Swerve and Ospreay out for an extended time outside of Darby Allin and Hangman, is there a new big baby face that I'd like to see emerge in AEW? If you want to really focus on nostalgia, you could kind of do something with Edge and Christian. I know, but really, what are your choices? Listen, I'm a fan of the Briscoes, and it's tragic what happened, with Jay. But, every time I see them putting Mark Briscoe, feuding with this person, feuding with that, 99% of the time, the outcome is always the same. He loses. It's like, I can't get behind him as like a top baby face. Like, I like him, but he's not like, it's like you go to the diner and you're like, oh, the stuffed clams are good. But you're not going to go to the diner like, I'm going there just because I want the stuffed clams. Like, you go there and you see something on the menu. Oh, I like that. It's kind of what he is. Is he the focal point? No, I feel like Darby Allin kind of is. And, Hangman, I just can't get behind. I'm just not a fan of Hangman Page. And it's not just because of the CM Punk stuff. His urban cowboy, snowflake cowboy, whatever the shit that he is. To me, it's kind of like, he looks like someone that would be afraid to pick up a horse's shit. Like, just because he looks like a cowboy and he might be from a farm or he might be from Texas, like, he ain't no Marlboro man. Let me put it that way. If anybody remembers those Marlboro commercials from back in the day, the Marlboro man, and he's looking like, that ain't Hangman Page. Hangman Page, if he ever went to TV, he'd be suited for a soap opera crying. Like, I could see him in a soap opera where he starts crying. He'd be like Joey Ryan, just without you want to make out, like at the end. Like, to me, he's not very masculine to me. It's just the way I feel. To me, he's too soft. To me, he's not a role model. He's a likable guy and he wrestles good, and I'm not going to discredit that, but I just can't get behind him. I just can't. It's not about gay or straight thing. It's just, some people, I think that's why Brock Lesnar got off so well. Like, this specimen, this, like ravishing Rick Rude, there's wrestlers that you just see them and you just like chiseled and, just masculine and just something. You just really, like Superman. I never thought Christopher Reeve looked like an intimidating Superman, but there's just something about the look. Like you just got, just something about it. To me, Hangman Page doesn't have that aura. Hangman Page is the one that you see crying. But that's just me. And honestly, they don't need to worry about me. I don't know I think Darby Allin kind of is it. They're in kind of a rut right now. Somebody may need to turn babyface. I don't know who that person is, but it feels like they may need to turn somebody babyface to, enhance it a little bit. We will see. All right, let's bring this home. We talked about TNA possibly going to CW like a month and a half ago. I just thought it'd be pretty funny if they ever have a falling out with WWE and NXT is on the platform as well. I think it would be a nice little boost, but I also think TNA on regular CW might be a mistake because I don't think TNA is going to kill it in the ratings. Unless you really start amping up an NXT presence, which you don't want to do too much because TNA is its own identity. I think TNA would be collision numbers. I don't think TNA maybe on the CW app alone as a streaming only thing. But yes, better than Access TV. And last week was the anniversary that they went to Access. Last week was the anniversary that Anthem bought the majority stake in HDNet. And HDNet is obviously who has Access, who owned Access. And that would lead to New Japan Ring of Honor New Japan Ring of Honor, I don't know if they were already on Access TV, but that led to Impact going to Access TV. See, that's why I like doing the history show right now, too. Because you'd be surprised how many things happen to come up, ironically, the same week or, within a week or two in history. Refreshed my memory on a shitload of stuff. So, all right. 316 MMA says, Don, who wins the women and men's Royal Rumble this year? I don't know yet. We're still so far away from January. Too many things have to happen between now and January. Like Cena, his retirement finishes the middle of December. Sami Zayn is obviously, to me, going to win either the Chamber or the Rumble. Sami Zayn is winning one of those two, I think. Some people think Roman Reigns could end up winning one of those. It's too early. I couldn't even tell you on the women's side because somebody could come from NXT. By then you might see Blake Monroe show up there. By then somebody could be out with a major injury. Liv Morgan. I could see Liv Morgan showing up at the Royal Rumble and fucking winning it. So it's way too early. It is way too early. When we get towards December and we start seeing where they're going with certain start, because Survivor Series is a very important event, especially for Sami Zayn, but Survivor Series will start dictating to us where they might be going for the Royal Rumble. CM Punk doesn't need to win the Rumble this year, even though a lot of people would like to see that happen, but it is way too early. Look, we talked about it on the news show a week ago, and it ends up being true. Brock Lesnar will be on the next two SmackDowns. So, Brock Lesnar, he could have a major impact going into the Rumble, as ridiculous as that may be. So, all right, let's take two more questions, and let's jet. Before I do that, I want to shout out our top 10 for tonight. Theme Parks and Things with Johnny. Jeffrey Foster Jr. think it's Jeffrey Foster. It's a little cut off. Jeffrey Foster, let's say that. Chainsaw Charlie, Jim Con 1479. I wonder why they do the @ names. I'd like the screen names. I don't know why it does it this way, but your boy Combo, Scorpio 1117, King Arthur 9794, Michael Gonzalez, Roderick Howard, and Xander Ilion. And we cannot forget Austin Nance and Guardian of Chaos holding down the ship for tonight. Stormforce Gamer and our other channel members, much love. 30 women, 0 skin. And a lot of skin. Listen, I know it's not the most politically correct thing to say in 2025, but I still remember when NXT debuted on CW. I still remember it, and I don't care. I call like I see it, whether people like it or not. And the one thing that stood out to me about NXT on CW was loads of single black men on social media going, "Hoo-hoo, look at that ass. Hoo-hoo, have you seen NXT? Hoo-hoo, Jada Pop, woohoo." And it was like, because you know why? Because a lot of soft white guys don't have the balls to do that. Oh, yeah, I get canceled. You know, it seems like a lot of Latinos and woohoo, look at that ass. You know, they have the guts to say it. That's what I remember. I mean, I think we even played a couple of, when I wanted to see the reaction of NXT on CW. And what blew me away is how many people that don't watch wrestling on a regular basis, all they kept commenting about, look at these hot women on NXT. If we're honest, almost everyone in NXT is very, very, very conscious about their looks. And, you know, that's one thing that has really annoyed me in the last 20, 25 years. You know, it used to be a big thing to have Sports Illustrated put out the swimsuit edition. And now, you know, people will accuse you of, you know, like whoring out your body. You know, like, how dare you? You know, like, we're better than that. We've gone beyond. That's why when, yeah, I know it's storyline and I know it's to add controversy to LFG. When Mickey James fucking called out that woman on LFG and said, "Oh, you're showing too much skin," I was like, I know you kind of have to go that route, but I was like, go to fucking NXT and say that. Go to, and let's see Nikita Lyons give you a roundhouse kick in the fucking head, saying, "Sorry, I just had my Hangman Page moment for a minute. I know you're a veteran and everything, but, you know, I mean, we're not, like, if you're, what was the old song? If you're sexy and you know it, you know, like, you show it. Like, now it's like, that's beneath women. And most of the people that say that usually have, like, I have bigger tits than them, and they probably have just as much of a stomach as me, and they have more chins in a Chinese restaurant, or Chinese phone book, I think they used to say. I mean, you ever notice the people that could really get triggered are the ones that, you know, are ugly as fuck, and the guys, you know, like, would love to have an opportunity? Like, you know, they're the ones that if they ever met one of those women at an autograph signing, they would want to do the pose, you know? It's not beneath them. How about giving somebody credit for working that hard to get their body to look that way? Yes, I saw the Karen Phillies fan. By now, she has dyed her hair brown, gotten contact lenses, and probably became a Mets fan. When they find out who she is, and let me tell you something, if she doesn't have much of it, she looks like someone has a social media presence. She looks like someone that's been on TikTok and has cursed out Trump. Like, somebody's going to do a Google image search. They're going to do forensics, and they're going to find out who she is, and she's done. She is done. The most amazing thing about that footage, for those that didn't see it, you got to go see it. Just look up Phillies fan Karen. What was so hilarious about it was the guy. I mean, it looked fake because, I'm sorry, I got to take my glasses off for this. Like, he gave the ball to his son and he's hugging him like a bad movie, like your dog ran away and finally came back and you like he had that look on his face like he hadn't seen his son in 8 years. But when the woman went up to him and tapped him about the ball, he looked at her and he was like, I'm like, oh my God, God forbid you walk down a fucking dark alley and somebody says, you got the, like, I think Tony Khan would get less scared. I honestly think, like, he reminded me of Tony Khan. I feared for my life. You know, he just, that reaction when she tapped him, he's like, I'm like, oh my God, did you really give birth to that kid? Do you even have semen? Do you even have sperm? Did the guy, and I felt bad for the kid. But that kid ended up raking. That kid got bats. He got balls. He met players. You know, trust me, if that was me with that kid and that woman came up to me, I would have probably done one or two things. I would say, go fuck yourself. Or I would have turned around and said to my son, I was like, listen, we're on TV right now. Just act really, really upset. Try to cry. Let me step on your foot. Just cry to cry. We'll rake. You'll get everything. The Phillies will fucking like, I would have done everything possible to get my kid to cry. I would have even, like, I would have said to my kid, think of a dead goldfish. Think of a cat that we buried in the yard. Like, I would have said I would have done Chris Van Vliet style. I would have said it under my breath. Think of a dead cat in the yard. Cry. Think of a goldfish that we flushed down the toilet. Like, I would have had that kid crying on camera. He would have fucking went to the White House. That woman is fried, man. That woman is fried. The worst thing about her, she looked like if Rosie O'Donnell went on a diet or got some type of disease where she lost 90 pounds. She looked like Rosie O'Donnell. I was like, I would love to meet the person that has physically got involved with her. I just, like, man or woman, like, I just looked at her and I was just trying to picture myself like, if she was in my bedroom right now naked, spread eagle, like, could I actually go down on that and look up and see that fucking goofy hair and those glasses and get into it? I feel like, oh no. She just, disgusting, man. Disgusting. I could never, seriously. That was, but that kid did well. The father's reaction, though, looked fake, man. I don't know anybody that acts like that. Honestly, I really thought of Tony Khan. I honestly thought, I feared for my life. I never saw anybody like that react to that in a way like, oh, her name is out there? What's her name? What's her name? We could put it on here. In fact, you know what I'll do? Because we're going to finish this now. We'll finish it exactly 2.5 hours. When I go like this on a replay, I will make sure I have video footage for everybody to see. What is her name? Can we finish with her name at least? I can't put it in the subject title because people will, it's clickbait. You know, I saw all the people that suddenly became Phillies and baseball fans retweeting it, hoping to get 1 million views out of it. Leslie Ann Kravitz. Listen, should she lose her job over it? No. She looks like an activist, which is nothing wrong with. Should she lose a job over it? No. Should people send her death threats? No. Should people harass her? No. But getting the hate that she's getting online is well-deserved. She's going to have to change her look. Now she can't change her look. Because if she changes her look, people will remember that too. So she's got to keep the look that she has now. This way, one day when it starts to fade away, that's when you dye the hair. That's when you put the contacts on. That's when you change up your look. This way, people will not realize it. Right now, if you change your look, everybody's going to associate the name with and you can't do nothing. She'd have to turn into a skinhead. She'd have to shave her head like straight edge society. You know, she'll have to just shave her head and fucking, change her look completely. You know? All right, guys. I'm out of here. Much love. Don't forget, this Monday night, normal schedule, right after Raw, I will be live. After this week, the next 3 weeks, I believe, are at 7 p.m. is the Raw start time, so our show should start an hour early. And then the week that it's in Perth, Australia, I will be recording the show early in the day, so there'll be no live stream that night. If I get an update as far as the show that I'm going to do with John, I'll keep everybody posted. And then this week is normal routine. AJ Lee will be on Raw. The match will be confirmed for Wrestlepalooza. In fact, I heard there's going to be 2 or 3 matches confirmed by Raw's end. So we'll see what happens. But we kind of know what the lineup is already. Last week we talked about 5 matches that are pretty much likely. I guess the main question is Cody Rhodes going to be back in time for a match with Drew McIntyre? John Cena's not on SmackDown anymore for the rest of the year. You know, people think he'll never be on SmackDown again, which is a lie, but Brock Lesnar obviously is going to issue a challenge. There's not going to be a contract signing. You know, like, it's strange how they did this, you know, that John Cena's final SmackDown appearance was Friday. So if Brock Lesnar comes out next Friday, even if he does issue a challenge to Cena, what does he do? I'm going to be at Wrestlepalooza. Let's see if your ass is there too. And you leave it like that? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they do, but I don't know, man. So be well, everybody. Much love. I'll catch you all in the next one. Ciao, everybody.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the hosts. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.